Absolutely. So for me, a lot of people will say, "Oh, what's the one thing that you would share, or what's the one kind of key concept?" And
Yep.
I always talk about two things, the two C's: consistency and curiosity. Now, regardless of what kind of, I suppose, idea in life, career, life, whatever you want to talk about, if you can adopt an element of consistency and curiosity in that field, I would argue you will always be a success. Now, the reason why is because we look at people in business, and we think they're overnight successes. But most times, most of these business entrepreneurs, it might be their third business, or they've worked for 10, 15 years in other organizations, and they've learned that education, they've learned that knowledge from the industry, and then they've implemented it into a product. So consistency, whatever you want to do, there's 52 weeks in a year.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infinite Abilities Podcast. I am your host, Nick Earhart, and we are here to encourage each other to find our own unique abilities. Let's go. All right, everyone. So today we have Michael, and he's helping a ton of people. He's a coach like myself, so I can't wait for him to share how he helps people, and maybe he can even help you. So, Michael, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Amazing, yeah. First off, just want to say thank you so much for having me, Nick, and it's a pleasure
Of
to be
course.
here. And yeah, of course. So I suppose my name's Michael Glassock, and I'm a kind of a career change coach. So simply, I help people to change their careers. And that might be people who've just started their careers. It might be their first role. It might be people who've done careers for 10 years, 2 decades. So different people for different reasons. And the way I got into coaching is quite, I suppose, a little bit of a unique story. So I can go into that at some point. But yeah, that's what I'm about. And yeah, pleasure to be here and share.
It's really awesome that you help people change careers, because a lot of times, people are scared to take that step. So for them to be able to have an awesome person like you to help guide them on that journey is really remarkable.
Absolutely, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. So I suppose my own origin story of sorts was I changed
Yeah.
careers. So I suppose if I go quickly into that, I worked in the NHS, so the National Health Service in the UK, and I did it for roughly 6 years. And I kind of joined as a bit of a graduate, and kind of got promoted 4 times in 6 years. So I got promoted and was doing quite well, and a good salary. But it was actually, I'm an only child, and it was actually my dad. My dad got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So it's
I'm
a kind of
sorry.
a mental health kind of obviously disease, and that was only I suppose two to 3-ish years ago. And for me, that was a massive change, a massive kind of only
Yeah.
child, and that's your father. And that was a moment, and not to be cliche, but for me, that was a moment where I really realised kind of how sacred life is. He's obviously in his 70s, but the way people live, we live quite old and
Yeah.
to a good age. And for that to happen to him, it made me realise: do I just want to plod along, kind of progress in a corporate career, earn good money, but not be happy? And ultimately, when I touch wood have children, and my children look me in the face and say, "Dad, I want to do this career. What should I do?" How can they take me seriously when I haven't even listened to my own thoughts, my own feelings? So that was the
Exactly.
catalyst. I think COVID, the national pandemic, was a big catalyst for other people to change careers. Well, that was the personal one for me. And then from there, I embarked into all self-learning and all this kind of motivational
Yep.
stuff. Did a coaching course. Got a credit. I'm a recognised coach now with the International Coaching Federation, so the
That's
ICF.
awesome. Yep.
And yeah, built my coaching practice to help people that went through the path I went through, because it can be quite lonely.
Yep. Well, that's amazing, and I love how you told your story on why you got started, because as entrepreneurs, we all have that story on
Mm.
why. We went through something ourselves, we figured out how to get through it, how to work through it, and then we're like, hey, I bet we can help somebody else do the same thing. So yeah, I
Absolutely.
love that you shared that.
Amazing. No, thank you. I think you're spot on. I think that's almost the definition of an entrepreneur, that they
Yeah.
create or craft a solution to help other people, that they
Yeah.
can't see a solution out there perhaps, and they create one themselves. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was my story, and I suppose it helps me resonate with people I serve now.
Exactly. And a lot of what I do now is I help people with their podcasts, and
Mm.
that's because I wanted to start a podcast. I recorded a few episodes, and then I was like, I've heard it takes an hour to edit an episode, and I didn't want to put that much time into it, so I put it on the back burner, didn't do anything, and then one of my friends was like, hey, I have a company where we help people with their podcast and make it easy and fast, and, you know, we teach you how to monetize it. And I was like, all right, let's go. And then now I'm helping other people do the same thing. So yeah, it's kind of weird.
Absolutely,
And
that's amazing.
it's kind of like I'm a podcast coach. And if you were to ask me a year ago if that's what I would have done, I'd been like, no, definitely not. And then so it's kind of weird how things just turn out. You figure something out for yourself, and then you help others do the same.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think just on what you said about a year ago, you wouldn't have realised or even thought you would have been doing this. I think that's often what a lot of people experience in their careers as well. And that's sometimes the thing that kind of holds people back. They finally come to that realisation and go, you know what, I've done corporate finance for kind of 20, 30 years. I've had enough. It's slowly ground me down. I'm kind of burnt out. I want to do something else, but I don't know what to do. And for me, they focus more on the 30 years or whatever period of time they've done already rather than the future. And for me, my goal, it might sound silly, but my goal is to coach one day a week when I'm 80 years old. So that's my goal. So I don't focus on the 6, the 7, the 20, whatever, 15 years I've done in my career already. I focus on the future. Now, even if it's 5 years, even if I'm in my 60s, those 5 years, what am I just going to chuck them up and go, oh, I've already done this career for 50 years, so I might as well do it for another 5. Time is precious, and I think national pandemics and all of those things have shown us that. And for me, the biggest thing for me, Nick, is I don't want someone to wait till like a loved one dies or we have a national pandemic for them to finally make that change.
Yeah.
We all have the power to make the change like that. And for me, it's just to allow people to have that self-awareness rather than waiting on external events,
Yeah, exactly. And, a lot of times we all get stuck in a job that we don't like. That's usually what happens. And, you're out here telling people that's okay. But what's more important is that you figure out what you actually want to do. That's
Amen.
the important thing. Make the decision that you're going to step out and you're going to find something that you enjoy. And I feel like for a lot of us, when we decide, hey, this isn't for me, we're like, all right, I'm going to become an entrepreneur and be my own boss,
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, I think there's so many options. Like, obviously, you don't have to just go into another paid career with someone else. But the world, how the world is evolving and modernising. There's so many opportunities. Entrepreneurism and small businesses is growing and growing, which is great.
Yeah.
But yes, that was probably the realization I had. I thought, I suppose I talk a lot about values, and I suppose one of my strongest values is freedom. And that can mean different things to different people. But ultimately, for me, it's to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. That's what freedom means to me. And the best way to do that is, through entrepreneurism. So, yeah.
Yep, exactly. I want the freedom to do what I want to do when I want to do it. That's why I'm building my whole business online. It's something that I can do from anywhere in the world because I want to travel. But I don't want to travel and have to neglect my clients, because when you become a client of mine, I work with you at least once a week. And, once I get more clients, I'm going to have to work every single day. And I want to continue to do that, but also enjoy the life that I want. So I figured, hey, build a online business. I can travel around the world, just bring my laptop and do whatever,
Yeah, amen. And I think what you've done quite well there, and for your listeners, this might be quite a helpful point, is you've kind of had a bit of clarity on ultimately, yes, you have a goal in mind, but what are the key things you want to get, I suppose, from this future life? And for you, that freedom, that autonomy to travel, that's maybe the biggest pillar or the biggest driver for you. Now, for different people, it'll be different things. People might have a small family, and it might be similar for you, but in terms of that kind of autonomy and to do, what they want when they want, but more for family purposes. Maybe someone has a really strong financial driver, and we shouldn't demonize money. There's, money can be an enabler for some. So I think for me, the key thing, before I kind of look at people's careers and different paths and stuff like that and all the actions, I always talk a lot about identity and understanding who you are. Because the more self
Mhm.
awareness you have, and I say this term authentic self, once you know who
Mhm.
you are, regardless of what people say or do, then let's work towards your goals. Let's not work towards society's goals or even your mum's goals. Let's work towards what
Mhm.
you want to get out of life and ultimately what you want to get out of your career. And then from there, we can reverse engineer the process.
I love that you brought that up because I know that a lot of us are not living our true, authentic lives. You know,
Mm,
we grow up in a way where we're told that this is okay and this isn't. We're told to do this and that. You know, we're told to go to college. Maybe that wasn't the right path for us.
mm,
And you know, for me, once I stepped out and started to discover who I really am and who I want to be, my whole life improved, you know, 10 times. Like, it just
yeah.
got a whole lot better because now, like, okay, I can have my big dreams and my big goals and I can strive for them. And yeah, people are going to tell me I'm crazy, I'm insane. Guess what? I don't care because that's another thing that I figured out. I shouldn't care about what other people think of me. And
Mm,
by letting that go, like, it's just like freedom in itself, you know. So
amen.
I encourage everyone, you know, don't wear somebody else's shirt. Figure
Mm.
out what your shirt is and put that on and live your life.
Amen, amen. And I couldn't agree with you more. I suppose, and I think a big part for me, it's easy. People might listen and go, "Okay, I hear you, Michael. I want to be my authentic self," but what does that mean? What does that look like? And
Mhm.
we've kind of mentioned these kind of I suppose ideas. For me, there's a reason why I talk about value so much, and rather than just being like pretty words on a piece of paper, they can
Mhm.
be core components of who you are, and they can actually drive
Yeah.
your actions. So, do you mind if I quickly talk about my values? I suppose, Nick.
Yeah. Go ahead. I would love that.
Amazing. Right. So, this is, I suppose, a practical way to how to make values sound. Actually, I suppose, make them practical and actually drive the decisions you make in life. So, for me, my four key values are freedom, fulfillment, integrity, and lifelong learning. So, I've kind of going over freedom a little bit, but freedom is probably the biggest driver, biggest value for me. I like to be able to do what I want when I want with who I want. Now,
Mhm.
that is both in financial freedom. I want to be able to be sorted and help my family, especially help my mum. Eventually, my dad will need care. So, all of those things are quite important to me to help support them. But also, a bit like you, Nick, actually, is locational freedom, physical freedom.
Mhm.
So that, I could be in my big love, which is Scotland. I could work in Scotland for a month. I could work where I am now. I could work in South Africa, for a couple of months, or wherever it might be across the world. So that's freedom. Fulfillment. For me, I get to wake up every day and help people, inspire people to do what inspires them. Now, there's not many more fulfilling things than that for me. So fulfillment is a massive
Yep.
driver. Integrity.
Mhm.
Coaching industry is great, it's booming, and I'm really happy. But with it booming, it can attract the wrong type of coaches or people in just to make a quick buck.
Yep.
Now, integrity is incredibly
Mhm.
important for me because people, when they come to coaching, they're making themselves vulnerable. They're sharing things they might
Mhm.
not share to anybody. And to serve as a coach properly, you need to serve from a place of integrity. And
Mhm.
that's why I quite like the ICF. They have a code of ethics. Confidentiality is one of the biggest things in their code of ethics. So integrity is
Yep.
really important for me. And then finally, lifelong learning. You wouldn't be in the
Mhm.
coaching field if you didn't want to keep learning. Every single time I have a coaching session, and I'm sure you're agreeing it, I learn something from them as well as perhaps they learn something from me. And if I want to do this
Yep.
till 80 years old, one day a week, I'm going to want to keep learning. I can't just say, okay, I've
Mhm.
done my coaching qualification. That's it. So
Yep.
I suppose hopefully that makes it a bit more practical for people how those values are not just kind of words. Those are like actually
Mhm.
they drive the decisions I make in life. If I'm now doing something and I can see how it's going to impact my autonomy or my freedom, I will kind of think twice about doing that thing. If I'm thinking about perhaps a decision that challenges my integrity, these are all questions. And, I've got a workbook.
Mhm.
So, it's on my website. But if people connect with me in LinkedIn, just send us a message saying values and I can send it to people. But there's plenty of workbooks. I'm sure you've got plenty of resources as well, Nick, to help people gain more self
Mhm.
awareness. That's just a step, like a
Yep.
first step to allow you to have a bit more understanding and kind of talk about this authentic self. Get to that place we talk about.
Well, and I think that's really important because that basically describes your why, like why you do this. And
Mm,
I truly believe that if your why is big enough, the how will reveal itself. I love
love
that
it.
saying, and I live by it. It's like, okay, when I'm feeling, unmotivated, or I just don't feel like doing work, we all get those days.
Yep.
I sit down and I look at my whys. I journal through them. I have my affirmations, and I remind myself, well, why, and then it's a lot easier to put in the work and do the things that I need to do. And
Yeah.
it's amazing because just like things come into your life that are like answers. It's like
Mm,
over and over. It's like I can't figure something out. Well, I work at it long enough, and then I figure it out. And a lot of times, that's another a person that comes into my life that
mm.
has that expertise, and they can help me with it. So yeah, it's really awesome.
No, I love it. I love and that again. Just to, I suppose I'm not just saying I agree with you. To prove why I agree with you, um, every single person, I suppose, when I work with people one to one, if they worked with me in a slightly longer
Hmm.
capacity, I kind of send them like a welcome pack, and in every single welcome pack, there's a book called "Start with Why" by Simon Sinek. So I completely agree with what you're
That's a good
saying.
book.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yep. Yeah, I love that book. And yeah, so you know, I can tell you're an amazing coach. So how can how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so the best way to reach out to me is via my website or LinkedIn. So I'm sure there'll
Hmm.
be some kind of links in the show notes, but simply michaelglassockcoaching.com. So www.michaelglassockcoaching.com, or you can catch me on LinkedIn. That's where I post a lot of content on LinkedIn and Instagram around
Hmm.
basically strategies to help people on their way. But yeah, I work with people three main ways: either smaller intensives, so like 2-3 hours, one to one on a longer period to help them with the transition, or
Hmm.
actually group coaching, which some
Awesome.
people quite like. Some people like that being with people who are on similar steps or similar journeys to them. So those are the three main ways I kind of work with people.
Right. And then I can assume that, like, if somebody is listening to this and their wheels are turning and they're thinking, maybe I need to switch careers. If you even have that thought right now, just reach out to Michael, and he can help you. He can figure out, if, hey, should you stay or should you go? So reach out.
That's a good song. That should I stay or should I go?
Yeah, there you go.
You're bang on, and I think some people think, yes, I do, but he can't help me or they can't help me. Um, I've helped people who worked in the National Health Service, so in health. I've worked people who've
Hmm.
worked in the military. I've worked people who worked in creative arts. I've worked people who in the corporate world, in corporate finance or law or stuff like that. So regardless of your kind of profession, if that,
Hmm.
like you said, if something's eating away at you and you're thinking actually enough's enough, there's amazing coaches out there. It's not just me, so do your homework. Don't kind of just
Hmm.
jump to me. I would always look at find someone who's maybe done kind of authorized training, maybe through the ICF. That's a really good thing. I'd find someone who's got really good testimonials, so don't take my word for it. Speak to the clients I've served, or go to a coach, speak to their clients, and the
Hmm.
testimonials will speak for themselves. But
Yeah.
I'm in this world for, I suppose, I would like to say a long old time and for a good reason. And the more coaches that are in career change, the better. And the more people that can go and be their authentic self, I'll be a happy man. So yeah, no, thank you, Nick.
I love that you have the same mindset like I do.
Mm,
Like, we're not gonna compete with each other.
no,
Let's
no.
work together. That's what this is about. That's why I bring on other coaches on my show. It's like, you know, we all have different qualities, different coaching
Yeah,
styles, and with a coach, it's not like one size fits all. Everybody
absolutely.
needs something different. So, like, for me, I love what I do because I get to help more coaches get their message out there, so then my listeners can reach out to them. I
Mm.
don't need all my listeners reaching out to me. I can't help everyone. So it's really cool that you think like I do.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree, and that's why I'm excited. Obviously, there's pros and cons with the coaching industry booming. You know, it can attract the wrong
Yep.
people. They see it as quite a good business opportunity, and that's perfectly fine. But for me, I look at it in a positive note. The reason why it's booming is because people are experiencing the positive coaching brings, and the more
Hmm.
coaching grows, the more accessible it will be. It's not just executives; it can now be accessible
Yeah.
to all. So I completely agree. I think more people who can access coaching, it's not just around careers; there's wider things. Then the better.
Hmm. Well, and I think a lot of why it's booming now is, number one, it's easier to be a coach because you can do it online now. But the second thing is, I don't know about you, but the reason I got into coaching was because I had a coach for myself, and then
Hmm.
I was like, hey, this works. Hey, I can help somebody else with this. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started.
Yeah, yeah, and I think mine was maybe similar. I mean, I did also I have a coach to this day. I think that's
Yeah.
also another key factor when I said about finding people who are coaches.
Hmm.
Find someone who believes in coaching themselves, and has a
Yeah.
coach themselves.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said with my story, I suppose I was in the health service because ultimately, and the reason why I stuck around, I was there for 6 years, is I liked contributing to a goal that was wider than me. The
Hmm.
NHS and health services in general are all about helping people, helping like the larger population. So that was
Yep.
ultimately a thing that I enjoyed, and that's why I stuck around in that career. But I just wasn't in the right job. My job was more
Hmm.
project management and managing big projects all across counties, and that's great. And that might make you feel good temporarily, to your peers. But that I knew
Hmm.
that wasn't my calling. And what I enjoyed was helping people more on a personal level to kind of actually shift. So I was a good project manager, but I actually helped going to the nurses and speaking about the nurses and how I could help support them in their lives and not just the careers, not just the projects I was managing, and actually
Hmm.
creating real kind of tight knit relationships with people. And there's a lot of similarities to coaching where you're
Hmm.
not there just to be someone's friend. You're there. I
Yep.
say the golden trio. You're there to guide, support, and challenge. So you
Hmm.
guide them. You might be a couple steps ahead, or you don't need to be because it's coaching, but you're guiding them along the way. You're
Hmm.
supporting them. You're their cheerleader. So, you can be the
Yep.
cheerleader sometimes, but not all times. You support them, especially when they
Hmm.
overcome big hurdles. But most importantly, you challenge them. You're
Hmm.
independent. You're objective thinking. You're not just agreeing with everything they say. You challenging their thoughts. What is it that made you think that? What can we do to kind of move past these events? Or what are the biggest challenges that you're currently facing in your career? You're pushing them
Hmm.
to think in a different way. So yeah, those for me are some of the reasons why I got into coaching, and
Hmm.
why it still excites me to this day. Really,
Yep. I love that, and I can tell you, you're just 100% authentic with who you are. So that's
thank you.
really awesome. And I also love the fact that you brought up that you have a coach, and you know,
Mm.
if you hire a coach, that coach should believe in coaches. And I like to say, if your coach does not have a coach, you should hire a new coach. You know,
Yeah,
that's
I do
that's what I
agree.
believe in. Yeah. So I gotta ask you. My slogan is "Your abilities are infinite." Well, what does that mean to you?
I love it. That's a great slogan. So straight away, what I think of is a couple of things. So I think of fixed mindset and growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
An internal and external locus of control. Those are two things that went to my mind straight away. So, for those who don't know what a growth mindset is, a growth mindset is someone who believes their baseline, their abilities, can grow and can change over time. So they don't
Mm-hmm.
think, okay, I have this skill. I'm only so good at something. I can't do anything to change that. I can't kind of develop and kind of grow over time. So a growth mindset. Now, when you say your abilities are infinite, for me, that's exactly what a growth mindset is. Whether it's time,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's challenges, they shape us, they mold us, but we can always develop. And then if I pivot to more internal and external locus of control, for me, that's also linked again with someone's mindset. Now, an internal locus of control believes that they have control over things, whereas an external locus of control is they believe that other things, I suppose, have control over their situations, their actions, their behaviours. Now, I would, I suppose, advocate for a bit of a balance between the two. You can't absolutely control everything, There's terms like control freak and and all those things out
Yep.
there. But equally, and I would say the large majority of people that I kind of meet initially lean more to, I suppose, an external locus of control, and they believe there's nothing they can control in their life. And oh, I'm so unlucky. Oh, I can't do anything. They kind of moan about their situation rather than empower themselves to take control and move to a better direction. So that's why I suppose I really like that slogan of yours, because I think having a mix between internal locus of control. So what can I focus my power on the things that I can control? Okay, I want to change my career, but I have no idea what to do. Okay, first and foremost, I could maybe speak to a coach. That's going to be obviously an obvious next step. Second thing, I might have an idea of 2 or 3 things I want to do, but I'm not sure which one. Okay, let's find what I like to say, find you, but 3 years ahead. So, okay, I've just want to enter into the accounting industry. I have no idea what to do. Let's find someone who's entered the accounting industry, perhaps 3-ish years into the role. Now, the reason why I like that 3 years ahead, if I reach out to a master accountant who's done it for 50 years, they're not going to be able to associate perhaps as well as the challenges that a new person going into that industry will. Now, that's not to say there won't be still positives from reaching out to people like them. I often would reach out to more people like them for more mentorship as opposed to what I'm suggesting. But you can reach out to them. They've just transitioned careers. They've probably just looked at job sites. They've probably just had to revamp their recruitment documents. So that person will be really helpful. And then once you do that, you can get the reality of what the accounting's like that as an industry. Okay, yes, I like this. I don't like this. Okay, now let's look at the other 2 career options and go from there. So for me, a lot of things are within your control. And the more you can focus on what you can control rather than what you can't, I would argue, usually the more happier you are.
Yep, I agree 100%. That was amazing. So thank you. And what would be the message that you would like to leave with the audience?
Absolutely. So for me, a lot of people will say, "Oh, what's the one thing that you would share, or what's the one kind of key concept?" And
Yep.
I always talk about 2 things, the 2 C's: consistency and curiosity. Now, regardless of what kind of, I suppose, idea in life, career, life, whatever you want to talk about, if you can adopt an element of consistency and curiosity in that field, I would argue you will always be a success. Now, the reason why is because we look at people in business, and we think they're overnight successes. But most times, most of these business entrepreneurs, it might be their 3rd business, or they've worked for 10, 15 years in other organizations, and they've learned that education, they've learned that knowledge from the industry, and then they've implemented it into a product. So consistency, whatever you want to do, there's 52 weeks in a year. You can just take one small action once a week, and that's 52 actions in a positive direction. You're moving in the right direction. So that's consistency for me. And then curiosity. Never, ever think you know everything. You are never the master, okay?
No.
I love being in rooms when I'm the least intelligent person. Intelligence is obviously subjective, but I love being in the room when I'm the least intelligent person because I'm constantly curious. I'm always thinking, how can I make something 1% better? I don't want to overwhelm myself, but how can I make things 1% better? And if you're doing things for a long period of time and you're always curious, for me, you will always achieve success, whatever success looks like to you. So that would be my key concept.
I love that, and I love that you brought up, to be 1% better, because I wake up every morning and I tell myself, today I'm going to be at least 1% better than I was yesterday. So yeah, that was amazing. And then also, to go off of what you said, I always like to say, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So, so that is.
Absolutely.
So, all right, Michael, this was so fun. So thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you for your time, Nick.
If you enjoyed this show, please go ahead and share it on your Instagram story and tag me here, the Nick Hart. Also, go ahead and share it anywhere else that you see fit, because the only way that I can grow this is by you guys sharing it. I don't sell anything on here. I don't have any sponsors, so let's just get it out there by word of mouth and help more people. Alright, everyone, remember, your abilities are infinite.